Today we're putting the entire barbecue experience inside the craveable, crunchy goodness of a Crunchwrap. We're making it all, folks. The ribs, the mac, the sauces, and more. Let's do this. First up, it's the ribs. Since I've done a full episode of this, we'll just do a light refresher here. So take your Vital wheat gluten, add dry seasonings, which you can find in the description below, and then to a bowl or a measuring cup as I have here, add in your wet ingredients, whisk them up separately, and then add the wet to the dry. Incorporate the mix so that they form a little seitan doughboy, only needing enough to make sure the ingredients are mixed. In an 8x8 pan on top of some parchment paper, spread out the dough. It is okay if it's not a perfect square, and score into 12 ribs. Then go ahead and bake for 30 minutes at 350 degrees. While those bake, let's make a barbecue sauce. I highly recommend making this simple recipe. So to a blender, add 12 ounces of tomato paste, which is about 2 6-ounce cans, a half cup of brown sugar, a third cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar or white wine vinegar depending on how zippy you want it, 2 tablespoons molasses, 1 tablespoon liquid smoke, 2 tablespoons chili powder, and 1 tablespoon paprika. Blend the ingredients, scraping down the sides and adding a tablespoon of water at a time as needed to get the desired texture. Jar it up and set aside. Next, let's prep the veggies. So shred about a half cup of iceberg lettuce and dice a tomato. I'm using a Roma tomato here. We're gonna spoon out the insides as there is already a lot of wet ingredients in the Crunchwrap and we don't really need the juice of the tomato making the tortilla all soggy. Season the tomatoes to taste with salt and let sit for at least a few minutes before using. Wash out the blender that you just used for the barbecue sauce because it's time to make our Chipotle Crema. So to a blender, add a cup of vegan mayo, 1 Chipotle pepper and adobo sauce for the heat, 1 tablespoon of lime, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and blend. Again, adding a teaspoon of water at a time and scraping down the sides as needed. And look at that, after this recipe, you're going to have not 1, but 2 condiments ready to go in your fridge. Now for the mac and cheese, so good, it'll make you want to make a Crunchwrap. I don't know. So again, a refresher here. I'm using the fancy mac recipe from my mac and cheese 3 ways video. Go ahead and whisk together 1 3/4 cup of soy milk, a 1/4 cup of tapioca flour, a 1/4 cup nutritional yeast, a 1/4 cup veggie oil, 1 tablespoon of miso, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, half a teaspoon of ground mustard, half a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of lactic acid or a teaspoon of lemon juice, and 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder. Once that is whisked, continually stir with a rubber spatula on medium-low for several minutes until the sauce gets steamy and thickens. Before adding the 10 ounce of cooked pasta, steal 2 to 3 tablespoons of the liquid gold and set aside for later. Your ribs should be done baking at this point, so to a preheated pan, add your ribs and coat the other side with your homemade barbecue sauce. Then once the underside is charred, flip. Once the barbecue sauce caramelizes, this should take about only 30 seconds or so on a hot pan. Flip so the other side gets its time on the pan. If you want to be fancy, you can use a culinary torch to char the parts that didn't touch the pan. This is 100% optional, but it does give you that on the grill flavor. Once charred, dice half of the ribs into small bite-sized pieces. Set aside and add more barbecue sauce if you like it saucy. Take a big boy tortilla. This one is 14 inches. Anyway, make sure your ingredients are hot and let's get going. Spread a tostada-sized portion of heated refried beans. Refried beans are just plain old tasty paste. Now add your diced ribs and Tetris them in there into an even wall of chopped ribby goodness. Let's get saucy and drizzle about 2 tablespoons of your nacho cheese sauce. Oh yeah. Add a bit of lettuce, add your tostada, and then add another layer of lettuce. The idea here is that the lettuce will protect the tostada from the sauces so you actually end up getting a crunch. We must protect the tostada! Add your diced tomatoes, then a generous serving of your mac, and then knight this magnificent beast with the generous squirt of Chipotle Crema. Woo doggy! Now to wrap the Crunchwrap, carefully fold your tortilla by pulling an end to the dead center, folding one side in, crimping, and then repeating. It takes a bit of feel, so start over if you need to, and feel free to also remove some ingredients if you added too much. Once you folded up your big boy, take it to the pan for grilling. Put the crimp side down and apply pressure. What we're doing here is searing the tortilla to itself, creating a self-contained vault of flavor. Once you have a beautiful toast on that side, flip and do the same to the other. Once toasted, Cut it down the middle and gaze upon your beautiful Crunchwrap, filled with the magical flavor of an entire barbecue. Let's give it a go. Y'all, this is excellent. The homemade barbecue sauce just makes it better. The mac adds a nice fat flavor. Got all these things coming together with the crunch, the tostada, with the ribs, the barbecue sauce. It is fantastic. All in all, I mean, this is excellent and you need to make this for sure. So in preparation for this episode, I thought to myself, what is the essence of a Crunchwrap? And I mean, let's be honest here. These are best served at 2 a.m. in a fast food parking lot with a giant cup of fluorescent corn water. Jokes aside, you really need to try this homemade barbecue sauce and the Chipotle Crema. Because while the ribs and the mac are the star of the show, the sauces are really what brings it all together. So for variations on this, I highly recommend checking out my mac and cheese 3 ways video. That way you can try them all and mix and match which you like in the Crunchwrap the best. All right, until next time, be kind to each other and keep cooking.